Human behavior. Fear of the dark. Fear of the dark is something that happens when we are little. It depends on where you live, where you were born, and all the things that people tell you. I remember when I was a boy, there was the boogeyman story. The bogeyman will catch you if you don't do this or that. All the children's stories, there was the big bad wolf. The big bad wolf was terrible. You couldn't do anything wrong or walk around because the big bad wolf would catch you. There was also the wicked witch, that terrible witch. When she appears in cartoons, we get goosebumps. It's funny, because the human being works a lot with fear. Fear is what happens everywhere. But we don't work with orientation. Of course we will be afraid of the dark. Many people are, others don't, but the fear of the dark. Imagine this, you go to your bedroom. I'm going to tell you a situation. You lie down and close your eyes. When you do this, you are inside a closed place, which is your own body, with all contents this body has that will frighten you. The fear of the dark can start there. It starts in everything you've learned. I'm sure. Not absolute certainty, because nobody has it. Each one of us, when learning about life itself, ends up putting it in our own little box, which is ourselves. We throw things that are related to fear. Most of them. They're fears, cautions, inadequacy. Things like that. We are never at ease because there's always the possibility of being wrong. Sometimes, there's no point in giving explanations, because fear is not on the surface, it's hidden down there, buried in the basement of consciousness, which is our unconsciousness. And that's terrible. I think the fear of the dark starts inside us. Eyes closed, lying down. I'm only telling you something. If you are in a dark room, with or without someone, the fear is with you, because you are in contact with yourself. It's about staying inside ourselves. There will be so many things, many insects, so much emotional maladjustment, that even though nothing is happening, it's already happening inside you. That's terrible. I'm going to tell you something I think it can help. A long time ago I was working with a group of people in market research. One day, we traveled to Betim, a well-known city in Brazil. I went with a group of people, and when we got there, there was no hotel for us to stay. We stayed somewhere I don't remember exactly, but it seems that it was an old convent or a place it used to be a convent and they rented it out. Something like that. The bedrooms were convent bedrooms with several beds and everything else. What happened? I went there with the group, and the situation was, there was a huge corridor, those old corridors with very high doors, and it was all made of wood, the rooms and the floor as well. We settled there. At the end of the corridor, there was a bathroom, but it was all dark. I don't know why in that place, on that day, it happened what I'll tell you now. We left the bedroom and everything was dark. We were looking at the end of the corridor. There was something, which was a little red light that sometimes turned yellow, and it made a movement in the dark.
Fazia movimento assim no escuro. Ela fazia esse movimento.
It was making this movement.
Então nós olhamos aquilo.
We looked at that and the people said,
Nossa,
"Wow,
aquilo
that can only be a
pode
spirit.
ser espírito. Eu não vou tomar banho lá não.
I'm not going to take a bath there, it's a spirit. All dark, a little light flickering." I said, "What a spirit, guys. There is no spirit. Let's get going. So, you go ahead alone, because we don't."
Aí eu falei, então tá bom.
I said,
Eu vou sozinho.
"That's fine, I'll go alone."
Espírito fazendo
A spirit doing that.
pode ser a sombra de alguma
I said,
coisa, né, que a gente
"It could be
não
the
sabe.
shadow of something we can't see."
Eu tenho uma
I have a
percepção,
perception,
sempre tive uma percepção
and I've always had a very high
alta,
perception
das
of energies.
Então,
So, I would think a bit more if I felt that was an ugly thing, something terrible, or that it could hurt.
que aquilo era uma coisa feia, terrível, alguma coisa que pudesse agredir. Mas a única coisa que eu vi
But the only thing I could see was the little light and a very low luminosity.
muito baixa. Eu falei, nossa,
I said,
interessante.
"Wow, that's interesting. I'll find out what it
Vamos lá pra
is."
descobrir o que é isso, né? E aí nós fomos andando.
Then we
Nós,
kept
porque
going.
mais uma pessoa
We,
falou, "Não, eu
because
vou
one
com
more
você,
person
vai?" Eu
said,
falei, "Eu vou."
"I'm
Aí
going with you."
fomos, né?
I said,
Fomos nos
"Let's
aproximando
go."
lentamente,
Off we went,
e
and
vendo
we
aquela
slowly
coisa,
got closer,
assim, de
walking,
repente ela
and seeing that
aumentava,
thing.
e de repente
Suddenly,
baixava.
it went up and down.
Quando nós chegamos
When we
perto
got close to it,
do
we
local,
heard, "Good evening."
aí nós ouvimos boa noite. Esse boa noite foi terrível.
That
Foi o
good evening
boa
was
noite
terrible,
mais,
the scariest one someone could
assustador que
receive
alguém pode,
unexpectedly.
receber, né, numa hora inesperada. O que estava comigo saiu
The one who
correndo
was
do
with me
corredor,
ran
e
off
eu
down the
fiquei
corridor,
parado,
and I
querendo
stood
ver
there to
quem
see who
tinha
had said
falado
good
boa
evening.
noite. Aí acendeu a luz.
Then the lights turned on. There was a black man, an old black sir. I can speak with peace of mind, with no prejudice, because my grandfather and my stepfather were black, and I liked them very much.
Tranquilidade, sem problema de discriminação, porque o meu avô, né, o meu padrasto, ele era negro que eu gostava muito. E o pessoal
The people ran away, and he started talking to me. I said, "Gee, you scared everyone."
Assustou todo mundo, né? Falou, eles têm medo, têm medo.
He said,
Porque aquilo
"They're
era
afraid because I'm here in the dark. I feel good in the dark."
O pessoal já tinha saído.
The people had already left the convent, and were there in the middle of the street.
Eu falei, impressionante.
I
como
said,
nós temos
"It's impressive how afraid we are.
escuro,
The
ele
dark
é algo
brings unknown
diferente,
threats to us.
ameaças desconhecidas. Você não sabe o que pode acontecer.
You don't know what can
Eu
happen.
posso falar para você
I
uma
can tell you
coisa,
something.
que
Things that
mesmo
happen in the
lugar
dark can
acontecem
also
todas
happen
as
in
coisas que
daylight.
vão acontecer no escuro. As coisas internas da
Someone's
pessoa.
internal
Só que quando
things.
você tem que
When
dar
you have to pay attention to the
atenção ao
external,
externo, você
you forget a little about your internal part.
interna. Nós temos várias formas
We have many ways of not having to deal with ourselves,
e
and one of them
uma
is this.
é essa, né? É aquela de
It's the one that doesn't refer to our internal confusions at the expense of what can alleviate,
nossas confusões
which is euphoria.
internas à custa daquilo que pode aliviar, que é uma euforia, né? Até o medo pode ser uma.
Even fear can be a moment of euphoria to free us from a greater fear, because a greater emotion buries the little one.
A menor. E aconteceu isso aí.
And that's what happened. Fear of the dark is a fear we have of all the internal components.
Pode ser até que essa historinha
This little story I've told you may not be very funny, I don't think it is either, but it was an event, and people were scared.
O medo do escuro.
The fear of the dark doesn't need to have something real.
Se você estiver dormindo,
If you're sleeping and hear a crack in the bedroom, it could even be the ceiling cracking, or the crack of the window, or a wall, it doesn't matter.
você entra em pânico porque a
You
tua
panic
imaginação
because your imagination,
misturada com
mixed
tudo
with
que
the
você tem
content
dentro,
you have, will
ela
bring you
vai
unpleasant and unhappy things.
bastante desagradáveis e infelizes. Então,
It's good to know that everything around us we have to call into
tudo
reality.
que existe à nossa volta, nós temos que chamar para a realidade, né? Acho que isso é importantíssimo.
I think that's extremely important. Otherwise, you get scared of what things represent, not of what they really
Não
are.
é verdade? Então, uma formiga, ela
An ant can be a
pode ser
terrible
terrível
thing
para
for you.
você.
But how many times you are asleep and an ant runs over
E
you?
a formiga passa por cima de você. Eu penso que
I think that emotional threats are bigger than the real threats.
as ameaças emocionais, elas são uma quantidade muito maior do que as ameaças reais. Por isso que
That's why fear is used so much as a component to sell things.
vender as coisas. O medo é fantástico.
Fear is fantastic.
Os filmes, a maioria deles,
Most of the movies, especially nowadays, don't tell stories. They talk about fear, what's threatening, where there are vampires. Even Abraham Lincoln has become a vampire, the vampire hunter. Vampires everywhere, zombies all around. They're horrible aliens, bloodthirsty, one worse than the other. This sells a lot, but it doesn't help any of us to be better and to have things that are worth. When you think about fear, bring it to reality, write down what you're afraid of. If you want to ask questions about it, just send us a message, and I'll answer them. The same questions are grouped together and we'll answer them, okay? Don't be afraid, because things don't work like that. Fear will not catch you. I almost forgot, there's something else I need to say. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. You can find the address of our website and our social networks in the description. We also have books and audio lectures that you can buy in our online store. We'll meet again in the next video. See you there.
Questão, na próxima ideia, no próximo tema. Até lá.
Would you like to participate in a work of energy giving from afar that is benefiting thousands of people? Click on the link below for more information.